Hello and welcome back to Go Visit Castles. Today we're in our local city of Nottingham to visit what is possibly the most famous and well-known castle in the world.
And who knows, we might even catch a glimpse of Robin Hood himself.
Welcome to Nottingham Castle. 2 years after the Battle of Hastings, a motte and bailey castle was constructed at Nottingham on the orders of William the Conqueror, who entrusted the castle to William Peveril. During the reign of Henry II, this was replaced with a stone keep, and for centuries the castle was one of the most important in England, thanks to its strategic position and proximity to royal hunting grounds and forests, the most famous of which is Sherwood Forest, home of the legendary outlaw Robin Hood. One of Nottingham Castle's most unusual and interesting features, the networks of caves and tunnels that run not just beneath the castle, but the whole city itself. And it was through this tunnel that Edward III stormed the castle and captured Roger Mortimer.
So this is the entrance to the tunnel known as Mortimer's Hole, and this goes all the way from the top of the rock all the way down to the bottom to the Trip to Jerusalem pub. Now this tunnel has been off limits to the public for quite some time, but in true Go Visit Castles fashion, we are going in. Exploring the history and exploring the tunnels beneath Nottingham Castle, it does not get any better than this, does it?
No, it doesn't.
We're actually walking the footsteps of Edward III's men when they came to capture Roger Mortimer, aren't we? Ooh. This is pretty special, isn't it?
When Edward III was crowned king, he was only 14 years of age. Both Edward and his realm were governed by Queen Isabella and Roger Mortimer, who were acting as regents. But by 1330, Edward had tired of Mortimer's behaviour. And whilst Mortimer and Isabella were meeting with their remaining allies here at Nottingham Castle, Edward led his supporters up through these tunnels into the castle grounds, and he overpowered Mortimer. Mortimer was bound and gagged. He was led down the tunnels, where he was taken to the Tower of London. He was condemned without a trial and he was executed. The tunnel that I'm currently in is known as King David's Dungeon, and as you can probably tell, it doesn't contain many dungeon-like features at all, and that's because it's actually a passage from the old medieval kitchens. But legend has it that King David was held here for 11 years as a prisoner, and that he scratched the story of Christ into the walls with his fingernails, which isn't true at all. But David was held here temporarily after his defeat at the Battle of Neville's Cross in 1346, but it was only a temporary thing, and after a few days he was moved to the Tower of London.
It's like, oh, get your eyesight back, don't you?
No, look up, look up.
The year is 1194. The King of England, Richard the Lionheart, has been away for many years on Crusade. Meanwhile, back in England, Prince John, the future King John, has been behaving very badly. Prince John wants to take control of England and the throne for himself, and with the help of some loyal supporters has taken control of a number of royal castles. Nottingham is one of them. Unbeknown to the whole country, King Richard has arrived back in England unannounced, only to be told of his little brother's treasonous antics. King Richard is not amused. He has a large army behind him and he makes a beeline straight for Nottingham Castle. King Richard the Lionheart arrives in Nottingham on the 25th of March and immediately lays siege to the castle. The castle's garrison, not actually believing that it's the king outside the gates, but an army sent to trick them and test their loyalty to Prince John, hold out. The king has brought with him a number of siege engines, including trebuchets, and for 3 days he attacks and he batters Nottingham Castle into submission. On the third day, the defenders, finally realising that it is the king besieging them, surrender, thus ending the siege of 1194.
It was here at Nottingham Castle in 1461 that Edward IV declared himself king during the War of the Roses. Edward recognised the castle's military value and he immediately set about strengthening the defences here. When Edward died, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, lodged Edward's sons in the Tower of London for their protection, but young Edward never made it to his coronation because his father's marriage had been declared invalid and because him and his brother had mysteriously disappeared. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was now crowned the king, and it's from Nottingham Castle that Richard III rode out to meet Henry Tudor's army at the Battle of Bosworth.
Robin Hood, was he a real person? Think of outlaws, condemned men, fugitives from the law, hiding out in Sherwood Forest with a price on their head. In truth, I think there would have been quite a few people just like Robin Hood. I'm just not too sure about robbing from the rich and giving it all back to the poor though.
In 1642, Charles I raised his standard at Nottingham Castle, starting the English Civil War, but Charles failed to rally any support, and so parliamentarians seized the opportunity to hold the castle. After the Civil War, the castle was demolished to prevent it being used for military purposes ever again.
And where the strong I was this nicht is long, and if with well Mitchell sore mon and fire.
The history of Nottingham Castle is just so vast that it was impossible to cover all of it in the video. So what we have done is popped a timeline of the events in the description below, and if you have a look through that, it gives you an idea of just how important a site Nottingham Castle was.
And no visit to Nottingham Castle would be complete without having a pint in the old Trip to Jerusalem pub, and it's from this pub that Richard I first set out on Crusade.
If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye for now.